The 2020 NFL season was the 101st season of the National Football League. The regular season started with the NFL kickoff game on September 10, in which defending Super Bowl 54 champion Kansas City defeated Houston. The season concluded with Tampa Bay defeating Kansas City in Super Bowl 55 at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida on February 7, 2021. The Oakland Raiders relocated to Las Vegas for the 2020 season, now playing at Allegiant Stadium as the Las Vegas Raiders. After a decades-long controversy, the Washington Redskins retired the use of their name and logo and adopted the temporary name Washington Football Team for this season. The season was impacted by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The most prominent changes were the cancellation of all preseason games and the 2021 Pro Bowl, the suspension of international games for the year, an allowance for players to opt out of playing the season without violating their contracts, the playing of games with either a greatly reduced audience or no fans at all, and the postponement and/or rescheduling of multiple games due to positive COVID-19 tests among players and staff. Despite the changes, all 256 regular season games were played within the original 17-week span with no cancellations. The 2020 NFL league year and trading period began on March 18. On March 16, teams were allowed to exercise options for 2020 on players with option clauses in their contracts, submit qualifying offers to their pending restricted free agents, and submit a minimum salary tender to retain exclusive negotiating rights to their players with expiring 2019 contracts and fewer than 3 accrued seasons of free agent credit. Teams were required to be under the salary cap using the top 51 definition. On March 16, clubs were allowed to contact and begin contract negotiations with the agents of players who were set to become unrestricted free agents. Free agency began on March 18. Notable players to change teams included. The following notable trades were made during the 2020 league year. The following notable players retired prior to the 2020 season. Other retirements. The draft took place on April 23 to 25 via video conferencing. It was originally scheduled to take place in Paradise, Nevada, but was moved due to the COVID-19 pandemic. On April 5, the NFL announced that the draft would be held virtually with coaches and GMs conducting it via phone and internet from home due to team facilities also being closed. Goodell unveiled the first-round picks from his home in Bronxville, New York. Cincinnati, by virtue of having the worst record in 2019, held the first overall selection and selected QB Joe Burrow out of LSU. The NFL and the National Football League Players Association agreed on July 24 to allow players to opt out of playing the season. 66 players opted out by the August 6 deadline. Players who opted out were not paid for the 2020 season, but received a salary advance of $150,000 taken from their 2021 salary. Players who opted out due to medical conditions received a $350,000 stipend which was not taken from their 2021 salary. The following is a list of all players who have opted out. Referee Walt Anderson was promoted to NFL Senior Vice President in charge of the officiating Training and Development Program, a newly created position that works independently from the league's head of officiating. Alberto Riveron, Land Clark was promoted to referee to replace Anderson. Clark previously served as a referee in the Pac-12 conference before joining the NFL in 2018 as a field judge. Former coach Perry Fewell was named NFL Senior Vice President of Officiating Administration. This position oversees the day-to-day operations of the officiating department and is the primary contact for coaches and general managers officiating questions. Among other duties, the NFL and the NFL Referees Association agreed on August 9 to allow officials to opt out of working the 2020 season. Officials who opted out received a $30,000 stipend and guaranteed job protection for 2021. 5 on-field officials, line judge Jeff Bergman, back judge Steve Freeman, field judge Greg Gautreaux, field judge Joe Laru, and back judge Tony Steratore, opted out for the season by the August 13 deadline. The following rule changes for the 2020 season were approved at the NFL owners' meeting in May 2020. The following temporary rule changes were made on September 9 and were only in place for 2020 and possibly 2021 if COVID-19 protocols remain in place. Training camps were held from late July through August by league order. All training camps were held at teams' regular practice facilities. The Pro Football Hall of Fame game was scheduled for August 6 between Dallas and Pittsburgh, but was cancelled on June 25 due to the pandemic. On July 3, the NFLPA voted to cancel the preseason, which was agreed to by the league later that month. The NFL released its regular season schedule on May 7. The season was played over a 17